Antoine with another episode of Out and Know. We encourage young athletes to achieve their very best outside of the game. And like every show, we're blessed to have another awesome guest. And y'all know how I do. I'm going to go ahead and let her introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Ashley Lawrence. I am the head coach, head women's coach at VSU. Very first program, inaugural coach, inaugural program. Originally from Syracuse, New York. Very big but small area. Graduated from Howard University, 2007 to 2011. Played on the lacrosse team there. Very interesting experience. Loved it. Wouldn't trade it for the world. Not everybody can say that they played on that very first NCAA HBCU women's program. So yeah, doing a lot of coaching. I've been coaching for the last 8-9 years. Been developing programs. Started coaching in Syracuse, which is where I graduated from, of course, at Corcoran High School. Moved down to Maryland and started the varsity girls program at High Point High School in Beltsville. That was an interesting experience in itself. School's 94% Hispanic. Team mirrored exactly what the school was. Girls didn't know what a lacrosse stick was and just threw it in their hands, and we figured it out. So they did really well. First season, they made it to the second round of playoffs. So very rewarding in that sense. So yeah, just been developing programs, now coaching at VSU. Very exciting, kind of mind blowing in a sense, still hasn't hit me, but yeah, just ready to lock and load and get stuff done.
That is awesome. We appreciate you joining us for this episode. And so I'm going to ask, how did you get started in lacrosse?
That journey is actually kind of crazy. So I started figure skating when I was 5. So I did that. After that, I did the whole all-star travel cheerleading thing. And then I did AAU basketball. That was around like the 8th grade. 9th grade, there was a guy that was coaching football with my dad, actually. And he was like, hey, your daughter ever play lacrosse? You should go and give it a try. So I started playing lacrosse in the 9th grade. And ever since then, I have not put my stick down. So been through so many different tournaments, played on different teams, met so many different girls, fell in love with the way that it looks when, you know, you have your traditional Native American play with the stick in her hand. Amazing in every aspect. They just make the game just look so just effortless and flawless. So I've had so many different experiences, and just those just made me fall in love with the sport every time.
Wow. And so it was awesome when I came across the article that you were hired for the Virginia State position. It was awesome to see when we see Black females in different sports that we're not normally used to seeing them in. And to see you go from, like you said, playing from Howard to now, you know, starting an inaugural program at Virginia State, like what has that feeling been like? I know you said it hasn't quite hit you, but just what are some of your thoughts like when you were offered the position?
It was one of those things where it was just like everything that I've been doing was to be on somebody's table. So I've interviewed for a couple HBCU programs, and it wasn't enough to say, okay, we'll take her. That just made me just basically buckle down and be like, all right, well, if you don't want me, somebody will take me, because I'm a good little catch. But it's I don't know. It's like a mind-blowing thing, but then it's a very humbling experience. And then it's also, I don't know, it's like surreal, but then it's just not, because it's like I've been just thrown into the fire to get stuff done, good fire. But I don't think it's going to really, really hit me until something makes it hit me. And then I'll just be like, wait, hold on. I am the coach. So it's such an up and down in emotions and such an up and down in feelings. my two little ones are still like, okay, well, mommy's doing this, I guess. So it's hard to really put your finger on like what I truly feel, because I feel everything.
Right. So this isn't the first time that you've started an inaugural program. Like, what is the work that it takes in doing that?
It's different now because college, you're picking players that know how to play and they know what they're doing. And it's more of getting them and convincing them what it is that you're putting on the table for them. High school's a little different. Like a lot of the girls have never played before. There's no skill set. There's no anything. So not only are you trying to build a program, but you have to take those 10 steps back to teach them the basics on how to hold the stick, on how to catch the ball, and how to pass, what the different positions are, what those different positions do, the basic rule set. So now I don't have to do that. Now it's just creating those puzzle pieces, making sure everybody mends together, making sure everybody's personalities pretty much match, their thought process, everything, just trying to make sure that all these little pieces all become one. But you don't have to teach them how to play. It's just getting that strategic piece to make them 10 times better than what they are.
All right. So for the young lady who may be watching the show and doesn't have a lot of knowledge of the sport, the young middle schooler, high schooler, give us like, what are some things or some other sports that lacrosse may be considered similar to give that young lady a description of what lacrosse is?
So lacrosse is your combination of like your soccer and your basketball. So like our offense and our defense is just like basketball. For the women's sport, we have a 12-meter and an 8-meter. Our 8-meter is like our paint. The only difference is in basketball, offense can't be in there for 3 seconds. For lacrosse, defense can't be in there for 3 seconds. So it's the same mindset. You still set picks, you still move your hips for defense. You're still talking and communicating. On offense, you're still cutting through, you're still moving, you're still keeping that ball moving. So it's a lot of that. And then your soccer is more of your full field. So you're switching the fields, your transitions, your cutbacks, all those different things are all what that soccer piece is. 3-man weave is basketball. Same concept as lacrosse. It keeps the field spread, and it also keeps everybody moving and keeping everybody in their own little individual slots per se. So those would be the two definite sports that connect for lacrosse. A lot of defenders in lacrosse play basketball. I know when I started, I played basketball. They got me in shape for lacrosse. I was a heavily recruited low defender until I got to college, and then they threw me in the midfield, which means I'm running everywhere.
Okay.
So basketball essentially helped me tremendously to be able to not only be better in what my craft was, but it helped me understand the offensive side too.
All right. So again, for the young person that may be watching and they say, hey, well, I'm involved with this sport and this sport. What sport would lacrosse conflict with when it comes to the seasons?
Softball.
Okay.
Your softball, your outdoor track and field. And I think that's it. Those are the only spring sports.
Okay. All right. All right. So you just started, like you said, the recruiting process. Like, what does it take for the young person to really prepare themselves, away from the game? Different sports, we know basketball. You talked about basketball. So with basketball, we know the player is practicing, whether it's their handle, they're practicing, they're shooting regularly. Like, what are some things that the lacrosse player does during the off season to really, shape their game?
Wall ball. Wall ball is your best friend.
Wow.
Like best friend, like that best friend that you talk everything about and y'all do sleepovers every weekend. And that's wall ball.
and I'm sorry, I'm not going to give my age, but do kids still play wall ball?
They should. They should be playing wall ball. I know as an adult, when I get bored or like when I go through my thought process, I'm like, okay, when I can't really pin my brain, I go and do wall ball.
Okay.
So it's one of those, you just have to get, athletes that play lacrosse have to get in that mind frame that wall ball is not a forcible job. Wall ball is something that you should actually genuinely want to do. And you can do more than just stand there and hit the ball against the wall. There's all different concepts and ways to move it. And you can do things through it. And like I said, for me, when I do wall ball, it helps me kind of slot my thinking because I'm not so focused on what's up here and I'm doing multiple things. So I could be catching right hand, left hand and be like, oh, okay, so maybe we should do that. All right, I'll have to tell him. Like, just those different types of things. But that's just when you want to become good in a sport, doing those individual things on your own doesn't become a job. It should be secondhand nature on doing it.
Wow, that's good. So as I look at lacrosse, does it take a lot of hand-eye coordination and being able to catch the ball?
Absolutely. So the one thing that I was told when I first started playing lacrosse is the worst thing that could happen is you just get hit with a lacrosse ball in the face, but you won't do it more than once. So it's a lot of hand-eye coordination. Once you get the whole standing still part, now you have to add the moving part. So not only are you focusing on, okay, I have the stick in my hand and I'm running, I got to look at this ball and catch it in my stick. Oh, and then once I catch it, I got to pass it off. So it is a lot of hand-eye coordination. It's not any more than your baseball hand-eye coordination. But yeah,
It takes
a little bit of skill in there. Yeah, definitely.
And you said it, you'll have the little self-correcting issue because once you get hit once, you normally get a little bit better at it.
Yep. And the crazy thing is that was the one thing that has stuck with me this entire time. I even tell my girls, like, look, it's one or two things. You either gonna catch the ball or you're gonna get hit with it. And it's not too many times you're gonna like getting hit with the ball. So you got to catch it.
All right. I will ask, as you touched a few minutes ago, just about the other sports that it kind of be compared to. I was reading something and it said those two sports, but it also added hockey. Like, what would be the hockey feature that someone may say lacrosse reminds them of?
Probably just the way they move the stick. So when you think about hockey or you think about field hockey, just that shift of their wrist utilization and then just the way the field and the concept of the sport, it's pretty similar.
All right. So now we're going to go back a little bit. In your youth, when was the point that you kind of knew, I'm pretty good at this and I think I can play on the next level?
I would have to say, so my first year playing was 9th grade. I think my 3rd or 4th grade, when I caught an interception and ran the ball, not 3rd or 4th grade, my 3rd or 4th game, I'm sorry. I caught an interception and ran it all the way down to the offensive end. At that point, I was like, you know what? Okay, I'm kind of getting this little defense thing. And then my sophomore year was the first year that I ever scored a goal as a low defender. And not only did I score it, but I scored it on one of the teams that were like one of the best teams in the region at the time. So that was definitely like, you know what? Okay. Like I'm getting this. My junior year, I actually kind of went through a little ups and downs. I tried out for the same varsity team, the program that I started playing lacrosse for. And I didn't make the team because I was told that I wasn't good enough to make his varsity team. At that point, I actually transferred out to where I graduated from. And it was just, my parents were like, hey, look, just give her a try and just see if she fits. I got there and ended up being one of the starter low defenders. We played that team that year. And this was a team that I want to say every single senior was going off to college to play. They were pretty heavily recruited players. And we beat them 7 goals and we shut down their 3 best players.
Wow.
I think I broke a head that game. I broke somebody's stick that game.
Wow.
Definitely had a lot of great defensive turnovers. A lot of junk was being talked. So I think that was really like my true like defining moment. I signed my NLI my junior year to go to Howard. So just all of that in a nutshell, it was within those 3 years. So I started playing ninth grade and signed a college NLI 11th grade. So those 3 years, I really buckled down and I busted my butt. I was going to tournaments. I wasn't on a team. I just showed up and was like, hey, look, you need a defender? Okay, I'm ready to play.
Wow.
So there was tournaments. They used to have a really big tournament in Maryland. Actually, I think they still have it. I just can't remember the name of it. And that was the one tournament I played on 5 different teams. But I was there to play because I wanted to get better and I wanted to actually have a name for myself in the sport. So I just think all of that together was definitely, everything was a defining moment for me. I think every year I got better. Everything I did was like, okay, like I'm getting this a little bit. I'm kind of good a little bit. So yeah.
That's good. That's good. So what would you say winning that game and upsetting that team was one of your most memorable moments?
Absolutely. It was more memorable when my head coach actually gave the other coach a dirty look. And the next day, they actually had a meeting with Section 3 athletics. And the coach was like, well, this girl tried out for my team. It's illegal for her to go and play in the other team. And my head coach at the time, I'll never forget him. His name was Rob Nicholas. And he was like, look, you're just mad because y'all got beat by a team that never wins against you guys. So now all of a sudden we got a player that you don't want and now you want her back. Well, sorry, we have her. I don't know what to tell you, but you're just going to have to deal with it. So wow. I was like, yeah, yep. That's how we go into the rest of this season. Just like that, coach.
Wow. I know that was a great feeling. So with lacrosse, is it similar to, say, basketball and even with football and softball? Are there travel teams or club teams like in soccer? Do they have a lot of travel and club teams?
They do have a lot of travel and club teams, but the reality of it is, for us brown skin wonderful ladies, we don't get picked for these teams. Lacrosse is a very political sport, and a lot of it is that they don't feel that we should be playing the sport. And it's crazy because I just had a conversation with someone, and it's just like, when you sit back and you look at the breakdown of the history of the sport, none of us are supposed to be playing it. Native Americans started this sport, and it is a man-dominated sport. That's how it has always been. Right. Women are not supposed to play it. We're not supposed to touch the traditional lacrosse sticks, the wooden sticks. We are not supposed to touch them. We are not supposed to play the sport. You don't really see a lot of Native American women playing. If you do, they are not very strong and dominated in that culture per se. They do know their background. They're very respectable to it, but there's different lines that they know they can't cross, and there's different things that they can and can't do. So for the world to feel that us brown skins are not supposed to play, I mean, essentially us brown skins were the ones that started it. Gotcha. So it's just a lot of political issues. It's a lot of this and it's a lot of that. But what people fail to realize is that this is a sport that we are now once again taking over on both sides, male and female. So, I mean, it's a lot in hidden gems. It's a lot of girls that are playing. Sankofa did a clinic in Michigan where everyone that was there were all African-American varsity girls that were playing this clinic. Wow. And just to see that is just amazing. And it makes you realize, like, we here, we're not going nowhere. Okay. It's just gonna be more of us.
Okay. What are your feelings, or I'll just ask, have you been involved with a lot of camps and training to really help bring the diversity to the sport?
So I've been working with Valley Lacrosse. I haven't done like a camp myself. But in regards to trying to become part of that program, they already have set. Valley Lacrosse has been around in Syracuse for years. Walt Eccles actually runs it, and it's a great lacrosse program. A lot of minorities are playing Valley Club lacrosse. Essentially, that's what it is. And just working on that and just working at the high school aspect. I was actually supposed to start a high school program with them, but then I got the job. So I kind of pushed that to the side a little bit, but it's not that it's not going to start. It's just got to start a little bit later than what we thought. But really more, a lot of camps and clinics really was more of just like on the high school set, just getting the girls to come. Preseason was really essentially like my camp or clinic, just getting as many girls out there as possible, putting a stick in their hands and just telling them to try it out. Like, that's the one major thing I tell them, like, hey, look, come try it. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. And I guess I just get the girls to like it, because every team I've had like 20 plus girls to field the team an entire season. And they may not be the best at it, but they get better every single day they come out there. And the fact that they just love to be there, that's just that first major piece for them.
That's good. That's good. So we're going to end. I know I kind of left back when we talked about your transition to going to Howard, but were there any other schools that you were looking at before picking Howard?
Yeah. Well, I would say not. I was looking at a lot of schools, but I didn't get looks from schools that I thought maybe should have looked at me. But I went, St. John Fisher is a great D3 program. It's in Rochester. I also was getting looks at from Cornell, which is Ivy League, Cortland. SU offered me a little bit of something, not much. But these bigger schools was more of like, hey, look, you're a good player. We want you to come see campus. Like, okay, well, I can come see campus, but college isn't cheap. So what are we doing here?
Okay.
So Howard, actually, it was really crazy, because when I was looking at all these schools and I was going on these visits, I'm like, you know what? I'm not really seeing a school that I can see myself at. I was like, so maybe lacrosse just isn't what I'm going to do in college. Maybe I just need to go, just make sure I get a degree and just get that experience of being away. It just so happened that Howard had a team, and I didn't know until I did my research on the website. And I'm like, perfect. I'll send my highlight film. I'll send game film, and let's see what happens. And it was funny, because when I was on my visit at St. John Fisher, that's when I got the call from Howard saying, hey, we're going to offer you this, this, and this. And we know you just came for a visit 2 weeks ago, but look, this is what we want to give you. We need you to sign paperwork. So it was just like, okay, so what do I tell the people now? Because I just got here like 15 minutes ago. So I'm really just going on this visit because I already know where I'm going. I'm going to Howard. So it was a crazy recruiting process. It was just like, and it's just one of those things that I guess being on the other side, it's just like parents have to realize, like, let your kid make the decision. Right. Like, it's great to say, oh, my kid went here, yeah, but does your kid actually want to go there? Like, is that what they do? And then sometimes you just have that piece where it's like, I need you to reel it in a little bit. Like, you might not get that huge D1, but some of these D2 and D3 teams can destroy some D1 programs. Wow. So, it's just, and I think just having that mindset in the process that I went through, it definitely helped keep me and make sure I was very mindful on the decisions I made and how I went about my recruiting process.
Okay. All right. So you end up choosing Howard. What was that transition like once you got into college? Like, was it a big transition from high school for you?
No, I love being away from home. I was away when my first 2 weeks, my dad called and was like, are you okay? Like, are you alive? Like, we're still here. Our number hasn't changed. I just loved it. I love being home. I love being like independent. I love being able to make my own decisions every day. I love being able to kind of get up and do my own thing. But in the midst of having to make sure I got stuff done. So it was just like, we had 6 to 8 o'clock in the morning practices, which means I had to be up at 4 to be in the training room by 5 to make sure I was on that field by 5:45. So, and then, you have your weight room, and then, you have your night practices for preseason and, all this other different stuff, but it kept me structured, but I loved the unstructured part.
Okay. So I want to cover, you touched on it, and you threw in there that you even had a look from Cornell. I was reading and I saw that one of the awards that you received at Howard was an athletic academic award, I believe in 2011, which means you not only was handling business on the field, you were taking care of business in the classroom too. What kept you focused throughout school on really balancing yourself as a student athlete?
Well, first, I didn't have a choice. If I wanted to keep my scholarship, not only was I going to do what I need to do on the field, but I had to do what I needed to do in the classroom. My first semester at Howard was crazy. And when we got our grades, I was stressed out because I was like, I'm not going to make my GPA. I can't play my freshman year. I was stressed out. That right there, that was like, you know what? You're not going to do that again. So whatever you need to do to not do that, that's what you're going to do. So okay. I think just all of that all together was what made me make sure, like, you're going to get your grades up. You're going to keep your grades up in the midst of everything else you have to do.
All right. But let's back up even to high school, because for you to get a look from a Ivy League school, that means you were also handling business in high school also. So, like, what motivated you? Some kids, it just comes natural. Some are pressed, whether it's, parents that are just really pushing academics. Like for you, what was your story behind staying on top of your academics, even through high school?
I would say it was a little bit of both. I'm kind of smart a little bit, just a little bit. And my dad and my mom stayed on top of me about grades. It was just my dad was a geek in high school. Like, he was one of those kids that everybody thought he was going to end up being like the president of the United States. Like, it was crazy. So it was just a combination of stuff. And then on top of that, it's just like, my dad always taught me that you have to be better than your counterparts, not only because that's how you should be, but that's just the reality of what our world is. You have to be better than the person next to you to even get an equal look in anything, whether it's a job, whether it's sports, whether it's your voice being heard, any of that. And that's just one thing that has always carried through my life. And I actually do that, talk about that with my kids. Like, a B doesn't work. An A does. An A+ is a little bit better, but we can't be Bs. We have to be A's because they expect us to be B and C students. And that's not what we're going to give them. We're not going to give them what they expect us to do.
That's good. That's good. So we know now that you're coaching, but as you were finishing up at Howard, what was the game plan? Like, what was your major first again, if you can let us know?
Well, I graduated with a PE degree. It's actually health and performance leisure was my major, and then my minor was secondary education. So that is what I've actually been doing. I've been a physical education teacher prior to getting to this job. Okay. I switched majors a couple of times.
Okay.
When I first got in, I was going to do just arts and sciences. And then I switched. I was like, oh, well, I can just do telecommunications. What is telecommunication? So, then we switched it to PE. Very stressful, 21 credits a semester, summer school. But we got it done.
That's good.
Got it going. So, yeah.
And I'm glad you touched on that. I've been able to conversate with a few guests in regards to the young student just understanding that process with figuring out their major. And I think sometimes young college athletes can be overwhelmed and just trying to figure out what they want to do next. And like, what advice could you give them in preparing for whatever they're going to go into as far as their major? Just so, I think sometimes when you don't have someone kind of give you that information, you kind of become overwhelmed with just like, man, I thought I wanted to do this. Now I want to do this. And just what advice do you have for a young student athlete?
I mean, honestly, if I could do it over again, I would take as many Common Core classes as possible, because what that does is it gives you the space to be able to figure it out, and you're not trying to crunch credits last second, or you're not doing an extra semester or anything like that. If you have the opportunity to take college courses while you're in high school, take them. It will help you tremendously in the long run. Summer school, I know for athlete-wise, a lot of schools offer summer school, especially if you're on a pretty heavy athletic scholarship. Take it. Take every opportunity possible. Utilize your upperclassmen on your team. They have been there. They know the ins and outs. Use their brain. Ask them what courses they take, what professors are good, what professors don't work, which professors help with athletes, which professors you need to take on the off season. So it's just one of those things that you have to remember, and you have to be mindful coming into college. You don't know anything. You think you might know, but you don't. So always ask and always be open-minded to getting as much help as possible. And it's not that you're being babied. It's just you're putting yourself in a position to not only help you, but you're helping your team too, because the higher your team GPA is, the better everything looks. The less work you have to do means the more time you can spend on perfecting your craft, which helps the team in the long run.
Okay. All right. So for the young lady watching, take a second for that young lady who's never played the sport. If you were a salesperson, how do you gain interest from the young lady in play lacrosse?
The one thing that I have learned about young people is you have to let them make their decision. You have to just put it out there and just let them know, like, hey, look, it's up to you. I'm putting it out there for you. It's up to you. That's usually when they bite. A lot of times kids know if you are faking or not on your personality.
Yeah.
So the moment you try to act like somebody you are not, that is not going to get them to be like, you know what, maybe I should look into it. Authentic self has to be that way all the time. And I've seen it. I've seen coaches that have just been this completely different person because they're talking to a different person, and it doesn't work out too well. I mean, it's that genuine thing. Kids have to know, or kids have to feel that you actually care about their well-being. You have to care about them wanting to try something or to bite something that you're putting out in front of them. They're pretty good judges of character, I should say. So
yes, very true.
Just being your authentic self and just letting them know, like, hey, look, it's your choice. I think it'll be really good for you, but it's your choice. I mean, if you don't like it, nobody's going to judge you, but try it out. You might love it.
Cool. So as we begin to kind of wrap up the show, I just want to ask, what are your goals for your first season at Virginia State?
Oh, to win some games.
Okay.
I mean, my major goal is, it's of course to win games, but I want to create that foundation of my program. I want to create a foundation of these girls not only coming and playing lacrosse, but coming and playing for a reason. What is the reason you're putting on a VSU uniform? What is the reason as an African-American athlete that you are playing this sport? What is your why? And I think that creating that foundation and keeping that solid, it will create a stronger powerhouse in our 2-3 seasons coming after. So, yeah.
That's good. So have a couple questions we always ask as we wrap up the show. And the first is, tell a young athlete, how important is it to keep positive people in your circle?
It is extremely important. Positive vibes, positive thinking, positive people, positive actions, positive everything is needed. The moment you have a sense of negativity, throw it to the side. You have to be positive in everything, even bad situations. Look at the good in it, because there's always something that you can learn, whether you realize it then or whether you realize it later, but you always take a lesson from every good or bad lesson that comes to you.
That's good. That's good. I want to insert one question because as we're wrapping it up, it just kind of crossed my mind thinking of the history of the sport. I was watching a video where it talked about, Morgan State and when they started their program and a lot of the racial comments and stuff they had to deal with. Today, are young Black females or Black athletes still dealing with a lot of the negative on the field?
Absolutely. I dealt with it at Howard. I remember there was one time that my teammates had to pull me back because I was pulling my goggles off because somebody said something to me. Right. So it was just like, you always go through it. I went through it in high school. The reason why I didn't make that team was because, I was a little darker than everybody else. Gotcha. Being at Howard, you see a lot of different things that you may have maybe ignored, or maybe it wasn't so flagrant in your face. Right. But there was a good amount of games that we went to that we heard derogatory words, and there was and we had to shove it to the side because we have to keep our composure. Right. We have to act the way that we know how to act, not how they want us to act. So you deal with it all the time. And then I just know, just on a high school coaching level, I mean, my high school program was majority African-American players, and the refs will show you, the parents will show you, the other players will show you. And it's just, it sucks because it's never going to go away. But it's also one of those things that you learn how to react to some and then don't react to other certain things. People are just continuously ignorant to a lot of different things. And I hate to use that word, but that's just the reality of what it is. But yeah, we go through it all the time. I don't think I think it's worse now because of the way the world is versus before. It was more of kind of like we shooting it out there, but we only shooting it out there so maybe you can hear it. Now it's more of we don't care. We're going to do it so everybody can hear it. Wow. So, okay. Yeah.
All right. So, and I will ask before I ask my final question, where do you see the sport going when it comes to our HBCUs? Do you see more programs kind of starting, with our HBCUs?
Yeah. So we have Morgan has a boys and girls club team. Bowie State, I believe, have a boys and girls club team. Hampton has a girls club team because their men's team has been NCAA for the last, I want to say maybe 4 or 5 seasons. Right. But I mean, they're trying to get some stuff together. I mean, club teams is where it starts to kind of see the interest, but what it all falls onto is that you have to have athletic programs that are willing to make that jump to be like, you know what, we're going to do this. Okay. And VSU, one of those athletic programs where it's like, we're going to do this. And if we don't do it now, then we're not going to have the opportunity to do it. So they just happen to bring on 2 pretty good people that are going to get some stuff done.
That's good. That's good. So, and final, we always end with this question. Who or what is it that inspires you in life?
Oh my goodness. My family inspires me. My aunts, my dad, my other half, my kids, his family. I think everything inspires me. I'm one of those people that takes so much from all these other pieces and like to just throw it in a pot and mix it together. And it helps. So, I mean, I think my inspiration is the fact that I'm not doing it just for me. I'm doing it for my daughter, and I'm doing it for everybody else that comes after. I'm doing it for the girls that are in the recruiting process. I'm doing it for the girls that are trying to be in the recruiting process. It's just a complete open door. It's just more of like, when you think about it, it's more of how you have like a queen just handing down her crown. In a sense, like I'm handing down multiple crowns, and whether these girls realize it or not, but there's so many different people that have paved the way for me to play, and the people that I've encountered that are Black women players have essentially handed me their crown. So everything is a sense and an inspiration to me. But I think just being in the position that I'm in and being so heartfelt about us being a driving force in this sport is what that inspiration is.
That's good. That's good. Well, we once again just want to thank you for joining us, the awesome information that you've given us. I know it's history in the making, so we wish you the best this season and going forward. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
You all know who continue to join us and watch. We always say it. It is great to be good and great in the sport that you're playing, but it's even better to be great in life. So we just ask that, just like every show, you take the awesome information that was given, apply it, and continue to join us as we go out and up. Thank you, and we'll see you next episode.